Everyone. This is Michelle Gramoglia, the President and CEO here at Woodland Pond, and this is my weekly address for Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. I would like to start with some time-sensitive things first, most notably, and we will be getting out a SARA alert about this momentarily. A full house, so to speak, entire buildings, excluding the cottages, will have a fire alarm going off as part of our fire alarm testing. We had one last week. There were a couple of issues that were discovered, so now we're retesting after we did a firmware update and some other things. Once that alarm goes off, it will need to stay on until the fire alarm testing company, who are here with their staff and our maintenance staff, are able to verify that everything is in working order. I completely understand that this is a nuisance. Again, this will be at 1 o'clock today. However, if we think about how important the fire alarms are and that they're working everywhere and all of the components are working, hopefully everyone can have a little bit of patience and understanding with that. Again, we will get the notice out, and this is part of our routine required fire alarm testing. The next thing is we have had very few, actually none, no suggestions in the suggestion box in the mailroom, nor any rumors in the rumor mill. Lindsay will be putting the rumor mill back out, and we welcome all of those things because these are some of the things that help make sure that we are attending to your needs and hoping to quell some rumors if they exist. So please do make sure to give us that feedback. We sent out a survey from the Residents Council related to communication and your preferred communication methods last week or so. For those that do not use email, we will receive paper copies. Those will go to our assisted living residents, those residents in skilled nursing that are able to complete a survey with or without staff assistance, and the independent living residents that do not have a green dot. If you need a copy of that because you haven't completed it in email, you can ask for those at concierge tomorrow. But the Residents Council is very motivated to find out really how the residents like to communicate. This should be no surprise, but so far the results are about 50-50. And such is life at Woodland Pond. I picked up a copy of this very nice LLI Lifetime Learning Institute catalog from Concierge yesterday. And for those of you that recall, we used to be able to be a host site for LLI classes, but our own calendar has taken over. But LLI, the Lifetime Learning Institute sort of continuing ed program affiliated with SUNY New Paltz, is going strong. And their spring calendar is out. It's very robust. There are a lot of product offerings, and it looks like they've been able to find locations for just about all their classes that they're offering, and they're in a wide variety of locations, including Zoom. So I certainly encourage you to pick that up and see. Some have costs associated with them, it looks like. I don't know if they all do, but a great opportunity for residents to find some involvement and some higher ed. A couple of calendar-related items. Today, Thursday, and next Monday, the Brain Health Group will be tabling outside the mailroom and taking orders for the Valentunes singing telegrams. This is a joint effort by the Brain Health Group and our health center activities staff. $3 a singing telegram. They can be charged to your Woodland Pond statement and bring someone a little bit of Valentine joy. On Wednesday from 3 to 4:30 in the game room and pub, and Hanover's family has asked us to invite everyone for a celebration of life. You will visit with Anne's sons and share your memory. So if you're available tomorrow from 3 to 4:30 in the game room and pub area, please do consider that. On Thursday at 2 p.m. in the PAC, and on 1340 is the next Council Connections, and our very own Yakov Pittman will be talking about repair cafes and what those mean and how they can benefit all that bring their items to repair cafes. And you can tune into that at 2 p.m. on Thursday. And the next Repair Cafe is on Saturday the 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This Sunday is the big game, football game. It's like trademarked crazy, but you know what I mean. I don't want to say the SB word, but lest I be fined by the FCC or whomever. But the big game is Sunday at 6 p.m. We will be having a gathering in the Pack. Bring your own snacks, bring your own beverages, and spend time watching that big football game with your neighbors. Okay, so last week I talked about wanting to do something specific for the health center, and we continue to be in what I consider to be an opportunity of education. So I'd like to kind of carry forward with that momentum. I got some very good feedback last week, and so I thought that we would carry that momentum. And my inspiration for today's get to know the health center a little bit better is largely influenced by the family council meeting that we had for the health center last Tuesday. And I'd like to just talk about what that meeting is and kind of the kinds of things that can come out of it. The family council meetings, I think I described this last week, are an opportunity for loved ones of our health center residents to get together. We offer seating in the classroom, and then it's also available on Zoom to anyone that cannot be here in person. They're usually at 5 p.m. They are currently being moderated by our staff, but Sue Close, who is our Director of Activities in the Health Center, has been doing some webinars and some industry best practice research and finding out that really the industry is looking to move towards family members and loved ones actually being the moderators, which I think is fantastic. So if you are a loved one of someone in the health center, AKA family member, part of family council, and you don't have to be family by blood, and you might be interested in being a moderator for our family council meetings going forward, maybe my description here will motivate you to do that. We are all for that. There are some ground rules related to taking notes and providing us timely feedback so that we can be responsive and so forth, but really easy stuff. And it really kind of puts you all in a safe space to be able to discuss things. And, you know, again, anyone interested in moderating that these are quarterly meetings, 5 p.m., an hour or so long, and an opportunity for the loved ones of health center residents to get together, talk about opportunities, areas where you'd like to see some changes, et cetera, and then bring us back some feedback. And I raise all of that because at it seems like each of these meetings ends up taking a theme. And this past one, the theme was really talking about kind of heavily focused on food and beverage in Garden View, and a little bit of spillover into skilled on the same note. But it really struck me that this is a great opportunity for us to do some orientation. And so I thought I'd take a few moments to talk about that today. One thing that I think is maybe not widely known, but certainly understood within the industry, is that skilled nursing, licensed as an Article 28 skilled nursing facility under its own licensure here in New York, is a clinical setting. It's a medical setting. It's a long-term healthcare setting. It is a healthcare setting. Article 28 dictates skilled nursing facilities and hospitals to kind of give you a sense of which umbrella with underneath state regulations skilled nursing falls under. With that comes an expectation of active medical care and medical and healthcare being the focus. This is juxtaposed from a regulatory perspective with assisted living and Garden View. Those are actually regulated under the Adult Care Facility Regulations, or ACF, and these include adult homes, assisted living facilities, and a number of other non-clinical settings. They actually consider this to be a social model, a social setting. And while they do allow, the regulations do allow for nursing to be there to pass meds and do some limited treatments, uh, you know that there's not a medical director, for example, or medical staff in terms of a doctor or nurse practitioner that are assigned to assisted living. Residents there see their own doctors in the community. Some of those residents are with our doctors here on site, Dr. Patel, Dr. DiNapoli, but they actually see them in an exam room that's not on the unit. It's just a very different model. And if you were to look at the regulations for assisted living and memory care, which are both under the same umbrella, you would see a heavy focus on resident autonomy and respect for resident decision making. Where that kind of manifests itself the most are in a few things. Number one, decisions related to personal space. Residents are very much encouraged to be behind closed doors if they'd like to. This is welcomed and encouraged by the state regulations. It encourages us to remember that all residents have autonomy in that decision, and we should not question that decision. It's important for us to always knock, announce ourselves, be invited to come in. Obviously, this is subject to resident cognitive ability to do so, but that autonomy is the base expectation of the state regulations in the adult care facility setting, which is, again, encompassing our assisted living and garden view. They expect autonomy of decision making related to activities participation, and very much so in terms of food and beverage consumption. There are very specific regulations that dictate what we offer in terms of each of these kinds of things. So there are regulations within the ACF regs that tell us that your activities or enrichment programming needs to include X, Y, and Z, and that personal space needs to be making sure that you have X, Y, and Z elements. And I'm just using a few examples, but the regulations are obviously comprehensive in terms of lots of different things being covered. When it comes to food and beverage, the regulations are very specific about what we need to offer. It gets right down to the food groups. It talks about how menus need to be posted and how residents need to have autonomy in that decision making. And in the process of having had a number of our annual assisted living surveys by the New York State regulators, it has been reminded to us over and over again that the residents, as long as the decision is safe, falls within the regulations, and is not putting them or another resident in harm's way, that pursuant to any limitations that they have from a physician's order for any sort of activity or consumption or whatever, the resident should be able to choose. And this is kind of a needle that we have to thread sometimes with resident loved ones and residents, spouses. Oftentimes we see, and we talked about this on the family council meeting last week, oftentimes we see that someone's taste buds or food preferences can change significantly as cognitive impairment sets in or as age sets in. And it is extremely common for us to see someone going into any level of the health center, but in particular, garden view or memory care and skilled nursing, where a food item that this person has really not liked in years or has never liked, all of a sudden is being requested by this person. Very common. The regulations very much tell us that unless there is a physician prohibition, the item is unsafe, there's a food safety issue, that we should be meeting the needs of those residents as long as they comply with the regulations. And we really do try to emphasize that. And sometimes this can be a little challenging because, you know, sometimes what the residents want and maybe what the loved one thinks are best or what they want might be at odds. And we have to really thread that needle carefully because we want to make sure that we're meeting the expectations of the regulations in terms of the residents having autonomy and the family hopes and desires. So what we like to make sure that is emphasized is when it comes to activities, participation, how a resident utilizes their space, and food and beverage, among other things, that we all work collectively to make sure that the resident needs are being met, but that they also have the ability to make their own decisions day to day. And the reason it's so important is because as people get older, and particularly as it relates to their, physical capabilities and so forth, one of the last things that people are able to do, we see in aging, is indicate which kind of food or beverage they are preferring or like at that time. And it's one of the best ways that we can help keep someone content, satisfied, and so forth. So it can be an adjustment. I wanted to emphasize this because there are regulations that are very clear about what we need to do, but they're also very clear about resident autonomy. We're going to do a better job with this in orientation because there's a difference between the required dietary things, prohibited things from physician's orders, and then preferences. And it's really important for everyone to understand how we have to operate under the different regulations. We're always happy to answer questions about these kinds of things. The regulations are very clear. You can just Google them. They're right on the web. They spell them out really clearly. And we look forward to further discussion on all of these kinds of things. And if you would like to be the family council moderator for the health center and you are a loved one of someone in the health center, please contact me and we will see if that would be a great fit. Thanks so much.